Have you ever wondered what you would do for someone you love? Would you brave a blizzard, face howling winds, and trudge through knee-deep snow? Well, today we're diving into the heartwarming story of a little girl named Irene who did just that. This is the tale of brave Irene, the story that proves courage isn't about being fearless, but about loving someone so much that you're willing to face your fears for them. Our story begins in a cozy little cottage where Irene lives with her mother. Her mother is the best dressmaker in the entire kingdom, known for her magical touch with needle and thread. She had just finished her most magnificent creation yet, a breathtaking, shimmering ball gown for the Duchess. It was a masterpiece, sparkling like 1,000 tiny diamonds. The Duchess was to wear it to a grand ball that very night, but there was a problem, a big one. Irene's mother had fallen ill. She was tucked in bed, weak with a fever and a headache, unable to move. She worried terribly about the gown. How would it get to the Duchess on time? The Duchess would be heartbroken, and her mother's reputation would be ruined. Seeing her mother so distressed, little Irene, with a heart as big as her courage, stepped forward. "I will take the gown to the Duchess, Mama," she said with a determined look in her eyes. Her mother was hesitant. A storm was brewing outside. The wind was already starting to howl, and the sky was a heavy, gloomy gray. It was no weather for a little girl to be out, but Irene insisted. She couldn't bear to see her mother so sad. She knew what she had to do. So, her mother, with a worried sigh, carefully packed the beautiful gown into a large box. She bundled Irene up in her warmest coat, a red hat, and sturdy boots. With a final kiss and a whispered prayer for her safety, she watched her brave daughter step out into the swirling snow. The moment Irene closed the door, the storm hit her with its full force. The wind was a wild beast, roaring in her ears and pushing against her with all its might. It snatched at the big box, trying to wrestle it from her small hands. "No," Irene shouted into the wind, her voice almost lost in the gale. "This is for the Duchess." She hugged the box tightly to her chest and leaned into the wind, taking one slow, difficult step after another. The snow was getting deeper and deeper, swirling around her in a dizzying white dance. It piled up on the path, hiding it completely. Soon, she was wading through snow that came up to her knees. It was cold, so bitterly cold that her fingers and toes felt like little icicles. But the thought of her warm, sick mother and the promise she had made kept a fire burning inside her. The wind grew even more furious. It howled and shrieked like a hungry wolf. It ripped and tore at the box, trying to pry it open. Irene held on with all her strength, her little arms aching. The path to the palace was long, winding through the woods and over a hill. Every step was a struggle. The snow was now so deep it was up to her waist. She was tired, so incredibly tired. For a moment, she thought about giving up, about turning back to her warm cottage. But then she pictured her mother's worried face and the Duchess waiting for her beautiful gown. "I must go on," she whispered to herself, gritting her teeth. She was not just carrying a dress, she was carrying her mother's hard work, her promise, and her love. Suddenly, a massive gust of wind, stronger than all the rest, hit her like a giant hand. It tore the box right out of her arms. The lid flew open, and the beautiful, shimmering gown was swept up into the stormy sky. "No!" Irene cried out, her heart sinking. She watched in horror as the gown danced and twirled in the wind, a lonely, sparkling ghost against the dark, snowy sky, before disappearing into the trees. For a moment, Irene felt completely defeated. Tears welled up in her eyes, freezing on her cold cheeks. She had failed. She had lost the dress. She sat down in the snow, exhausted and heartbroken. The storm raged around her, but all she could feel was the cold emptiness of her failure. What would she tell her mother? What would the Duchess do? But even in that dark moment, a spark of Irene's bravery remained. She couldn't just give up. She wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and stood up. She had to at least find the dress. She stumbled through the deep snow, calling out for the lost gown as if it were a living thing. She searched and searched, her eyes scanning the snow-covered branches, and then she saw it. A faint glimmer of silver, high up in the branches of a tall pine tree. The gown was tangled in the branches, snagged but safe. Hope surged through her. With renewed energy, she carefully climbed the tree, her cold fingers gripping the rough bark. She gently untangled the delicate fabric, folded it as best she could, and tucked it safely inside her coat. The box was gone, but she had the gown. Holding the precious dress against her, she continued her journey. The storm was still raging, but Irene felt stronger now. She had faced the worst and hadn't given up. Finally, through the blinding snow, she saw faint lights. The Palace! It looked like a fairy tale castle, its windows glowing warmly in the twilight. With the last of her strength, she staggered up the grand steps and knocked on the huge wooden door. A footman, surprised to see a small, snow-covered girl, opened the door. "I've brought the gown for the Duchess," Irene announced, her voice shaky but proud. She was led inside into the warmth and light of the palace. When the Duchess saw Irene, shivering but triumphant, and the beautiful gown she clutched, she was overjoyed and amazed. She listened in awe as Irene recounted her perilous journey through the storm. The Duchess called her a hero, the bravest girl she had ever met. She thanked Irene profusely, not just for the dress, but for her incredible courage and love. The Duchess insisted that Irene stay at the palace, have a warm meal, and rest by the fire until the storm passed. She was treated like a guest of honor, and the palace staff all marveled at the story of the little girl who conquered the blizzard. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving the world covered in a thick, sparkling blanket of white. The Duchess sent Irene home in a sleigh, driven by the coachman and pulled by 2 strong horses. Tucked under warm blankets, Irene felt like a queen. When she arrived home, her mother, who was already feeling much better, ran out to greet her. She had been so worried. They hugged tightly, relief and pride washing over Irene's mother. Irene wasn't just the dressmaker's daughter anymore. She was brave Irene, the girl who showed everyone that a loving heart and a little bit of courage can overcome even the wildest storm. Her adventure became a legend, a reminder that the greatest strength we have is the love we hold for others. And so, Irene's story teaches us a beautiful lesson. It shows that true bravery isn't about being big or strong, but about the size of your heart and the depth of your love. It's about pushing forward, even when you're scared, for the sake of someone you care about. Irene's journey through the snow was more than just a delivery. It was a testament to the power of determination and affection. The next time you face a challenge that seems too big, remember brave Irene. Remember that with love as your guide and courage as your coat, you can face any storm that comes your way. Thank you for joining us for this wonderful story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a like and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring takes. See you next time.